In this episode of the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast, Tyler Revelis and Missionary Mike go over the Week 7 starts and sits, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defense, and even some bonus sleepers.
We'll
meet again.
We'll tell you
Who to start
and who to sit
for Week 7 in the NFL. Da, da, da.
to win your match through these bye weeks.
This is the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Missionary Mike, also known as Michael Marcanio, and I'm here with Tyler Revelis, also known as your boy T.
Your boy T, timeout.
Your boy, timeout. I thought you were saying timeout. Legit. But today we are talking Week 7 starts and sits. Our favorite players were starting. This week has 6 teams on bye, so it's a doozy. Okay, so it's a lot to get into. So today we're going to go quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then defenses, and then some sleeper starts for you at the end of the episode. If you haven't already, go check out Underdog Fantasy. This our new partnership with AVG Fantasy Football is Underdog Fantasy. If you use promo code AVG, you can get a free $10 into your account match. So all you got to do is put in $10, and then they'll match you. So it's a pretty good deal. Go check that out. Links down below if you want to go and check it out. And it supports the channel, so supports the podcast, supports the channel, all that good stuff. And if you haven't already, leave a rating and review on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, all that good stuff. So before we get into all these starts and sits, I do want to go and start doing this all the time. And we pulled a comment from the YouTube, and we're gonna go into comment of the week.
Fuck it, send it in.
All right, here we are. We got comment of the week goes to Mark Ria, I don't know, on YouTube. He says, this was on our trade video. He said, please grade my trade. I gave Khalil Herbert, Darrell Williams, and Jaylen Waddle for Justin Jefferson. He said, I already had good running backs, Kamara, Mixon, and Cordero Patterson. Thanks for your comment. That's the comment of the week. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it.
I think it's pretty money.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You might hit me with that Eminem, and I got no snare in my headphones.
Oh, you can't hear yourself?
Yeah, can you hit the snare in my headphones?
You should be able to hear yourself.
Eminem.
You should be able to hear yourself. That's probably on your end.
I think I might be disconnected over here, dude. You know, look at this, dude.
You're not plugged into
I'm
anything.
disconnected, dude. I'm disconnected.
Your headphones are not plugged in.
Yeah, no, I like that trade right there. I mean, the guy's got some solid depth. You throw that comment back up there for me?
Yeah, so you can see it. Yeah.
Comment of the week, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you got Kamara, you got Mixon, Cordell Patterson. I mean, all three of those guys have been balling. So, you know, he picks up the depth, and this is what we always preach on. You know, even though this guy right here, he had the depth of Kamara, Mixon, and Cordell Patterson, he was still active on the waiver wire. He was still making moves to, get the best, complete roster that he could get. And
Right.
he goes out and he gets Khalil Herbert. He goes out and he gets Darrell Williams, who are, backup running backs, but due to injuries are now kind of thrusted into that starting role. And, they've been performing for you. So, and then, he pairs Jaylen Waddle, who, a couple good games. I know he had that crazy good game against the Raiders where he had like 13 catches for like 50 yards, something ridiculous like that. So in PPR leagues, he balled out for you at least. And then last week, he had the 2 touchdowns, I believe it was last week. But, one thing with Waddle, as a Dolphins fan personally, Devontae Parker is not there. Will Fuller's not there. So, once those guys come back, I think it's going to have a huge impact on Waddle's upside. It's basically just him and Gesicki in terms of the passing game. And then, for whatever reason, Miami's been idiots and they haven't been using Gaskin either. So that just kind of opens up even more targets for Waddle. So, yeah, I love this trade that this guy pulls off here because, he already has 3 solid running backs. So he doesn't need the depth of a Darrell Williams or Herbert who – once CEH and Montgomery come back, whether CEH regains his starter role or it's running back with committee, and obviously Montgomery's going to come back and he should be the main guy. But, those guys are going to take massive hits in their workloads, so they won't be the same players or have the same value going forward. And then Waddle, like I said, with the whole Miami thing. So, but for him to upgrade and get a guy like Justin Jefferson who –
that's like a premier trade. That's like
Justin Jefferson's
by the
top
book,
10 wide receiver right there. It's just, hats off to him on that trade. Good trade, And this is kind of what I was saying before. I think you asked me last week, what do I kind of look for in trades, or what do I try to do? It's things like that. I'll try to do 3-for-1s. I'll try to do 2-for-1s. And maybe on paper he's giving up more, especially in a bye week like this where
he's giving up more short term for long term, but he's got the depth, like you said. He can't start all those running backs.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I like it. Solid.
It's
money.
Good work. So if you want your comment of the week to be talked about, just go ahead and leave a comment on the YouTube. Anything, it could be anything, bad beat, whatever, trade that you nailed or anything. If you want advice, it doesn't matter. We're just going to randomly start selecting those at the beginning of every episode. So let's get into it right now with the starts and sits. First off on the start. Oops. First off on the starts and sits, we are going quarterbacks. We got first one is Matthew Stafford going up against the Detroit Lions. The Rams are favored by 15 points, which is that's a college spread, by the way. So that is crazy. Just light it up. I think, how many you think the Rams are just going to put up a fuck ton of points?
I mean, yeah, they're at home, and the Lions offense just looks terrible. They look like one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and obviously it doesn't help when you lose your center, Frank Ragnar, I believe his name is, and then you get Taylor Decker, who's the starting left tackle, I believe, as well. He's out too. So, and then now you have to face a guy named Aaron Donald, who's like the back-to-back defensive player of the year. Yeah, pray for Jared Goff because, hopefully he was nice to Aaron Donald when they were teammates back for the Rams, because if Aaron Donald's got a vengeance or a vendetta out to get to him, he may murder Jared Goff in this game. But yeah, I love Matt Stafford here, and this might be an easy one for most people, but I was seeing that he was not being started in 30% of leagues, and I think he needs to be started in 100% of leagues. Only bad thing is that maybe they do get up early and they in the second half and they kind of just lean on the run game, but I'm thinking that they just poured on. I'm thinking Sean McVay he's just like, whatever, if you're going to let me keep scoring, I'm going to keep scoring, kind of like Bill Belichick style here. And then, the Lions, they allow a league high 9.8 yards per completion. So this is money for guys like Cooper Kupp, who's, you're definitely starting him. And then, if you have Robert Woods and you're kind of on the fringe of starting him, I think this is a good money matchup to throw Robert Woods into your lineup as well. So, yeah, give me all the Matty Stafford this week.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, Matthew Stafford against the Lions. I like it. Maybe a rushing touchdown?
Nah, maybe 4 touchdowns.
No,
4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Let's go on to the next quarterback start. I got my boy Jameis Winston. This is kind of like a higher upside play. I was talking to actually some people personally. They were asking me for some advice and who to pick up. And if this person in particular went up against D'Ernest Johnson in on the Thursday night game, so they're down by a decent amount of points already going into the week. So they got people on bye week, so they're in a pinch where they need to start a higher upside person, and I don't think there's anyone better with higher upside than Jameis Winston going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. I think it's a perfect matchup. You got him on Monday night, so you could get that Monday night miracle for yourself. I think, Jameis Winston's the kind of person who he can throw 500 yards in a game.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I mean, he has that ability. He has very much the ability to do the opposite and throw interceptions.
How many picks does he throw?
It doesn't matter, though, because if he throws enough touchdowns. Exactly. 5? Exactly. But it doesn't matter. If you throw 500 yards, it's going to balance itself out. So I'm expecting let me guess, prediction, let me say a 26-point fantasy point game from quarterback Jameis Winston against the Seahawks. Seahawks pass defense, by the way, is really, really bad. They're 4th yards against passing yards against their defense. So that in that case, I like it. I love this matchup.
I mean, yeah, you got a lot of quarterbacks on bye this week. You got Justin Herbert. I'm trying to think. You got Dak. You got Josh Allen.
Kirk
Cousins. So yeah, you might be searching the waiver wire, just saying like, hey, I just need someone who I can spot start for the week until my actual starting quarterback comes back off the bye. And I mean, Jameis Winston's out there in a ton of leagues. So
yeah. I love it. But let's go on to the next quarterback here. We got Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, I don't know what he ended up with on it was mostly Derrick Henry actually on Monday night, but Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs defense has not been that great. Tell them, Tyler.
Yeah, the Chiefs, prior to last week, they had allowed 5 straight games of 29 or more points, like just in general to the teams. Obviously, Tyler Heineke did not have a good game. The Washington football team did not have a good game, so they break that streak. But yeah, 5 out of the 6 games, the Chiefs have allowed 29 or more points. And, I mean, does Derrick Henry have 4 rushing touchdowns in this? Maybe. It's a possibility. That guy's, like we said, that guy's either an alien or he's a superhuman athlete from the future that has come back in time to just destroy regular human beings who are not super athletes like him, because that guy is just something that's crazy. But, I mean, the Titans are going to be at home. This should be a shootout because the Titans' defense isn't very good either, so I'm expecting Mahomes to come out and put up some points. Julio Jones is questionable, but he's quote-unquote, he said he feels great and he's excited for Sunday. So if the receiver's coming out saying that from the reporters, I would assume that would mean he was going to play. The thing with Tannehill is that he's been super efficient and one of the best quarterbacks in terms of the play action passes, his passer rating, his passer efficiency, completion percentage, all that stuff. But he hasn't had a game where he's had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones 100% on the field. It's like they're either battling injuries or one gets hurt halfway through the game and they have to leave, or he's without both the receivers for a game. So it's kind of hard to gauge Tannehill so far throughout the year on what he's been able to accomplish. Obviously kind of some disappointing games here. I mean, he's only been over 20 points one time this entire season. Most of the games he's only had 1 or less passing touchdowns, so that's not very good. But also that's because Derrick Henry's getting you like 2-3 rushing touchdowns every single game. But he does offer the safe floor with the rushing yards on the ground. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. So I think in this game they're gonna have to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And like I said, the Chiefs defense not very good, giving it up like Blair. So yeah, give me some Ryan Tannehill here, especially if Julio Jones can play, and it sounds like he is. Yeah, and then A.J. Brown should be good to go as well.
Yeah, giving it up like Blair in the air.
In the air. Nice.
Let's go on to our Week 7 sits for quarterback. We have our first one here is Sammy Darnold. What you hating on my boy, dude? What's going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, Sam Darnold was off to a hot start like Hansel. He had 4 straight games of 280 or more passing yards, but the last 2 games have been, as I have here in my notes, quote-unquote, shit games. He's been held to under 210 yards, and he's had 6 interceptions in his last 3 games. That was kind of a knock for me when he was coming out of USC, as a guy who was just really turnover-prone, and I just didn't see how he was going to translate or get better, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, in the NFL when things are faster and the athletes are better than college. It's like you throw like 20 interceptions or whatever it was at USC. How's he supposed to go to the NFL where things are better now and just not throw a bunch of interceptions? But yeah, been turning the ball over like crazy. This one right here, it's like I need to see it again before I am throwing Sam Darnold into my starting lineup. I guess if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you need a second quarterback, I'm not mad at it because the Giants are giving up a 74% completion percentage. But then on the flip side, Sam Darnold has been one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks throughout the season. It's crazy. I was looking at some stats in terms of like uncatchable targets to receivers, or there's a stat, don't quote me on this, but it's basically like air yards that are uncatchable. So basically like when you throw a deep pass, but it's just like uncatchable, and they calculate those air yards to see, how many yards that would have been if he would have completed it. And DJ Moore and Robby Anderson are top 5 in these uncatchable air yards.
Wow.
So he's just being highly inefficient with his throws. And I don't know, maybe he was doing so well in the beginning of the year because he had Christian McCaffrey, and it was easy for him to just dump it off and have CMC do all the work. I mean, we were seeing Christian McCaffrey get 8, 9, 10 catches for 80, 90 yards. So that's just easy completions right there. Short, quick passes. So maybe he's struggling now with no CMC on the field. So yeah, I'd be a little hesitant to throw Sam Darnold into my lineup, especially in a road game against the Giants.
Yeah, and then he might have been, he had those rushing touchdowns at the beginning of the year as well, so those could have been saving you with Sam Darnold as well. Like that could have been the reason as well.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Prove it to me, Sammy. Next week 7 sit for a quarterback. We got Joey Burrow taking on the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup. The Ravens are favored by 8.5 points now. It moved from 6.5 to 8.5
That's
on a
crazy.
Division game. And a division, I don't care. I don't care who.
And the
it
Bengals,
is.
for as much as you want, you can trash the Bengals and talk shit. The Bengals have been playing some good football.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're a Steelers fan, Mike, but I mean, to go into Pittsburgh, a division game, and win, that's
hard.
That's pretty hard. And they nearly beat the Packers. I know what's his name, Mason Crosby, or the Packers kicker, whatever his name is. Missed a couple kicks, but they nearly beat the Packers as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're playing some good football on both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
Yeah. But you don't like Joe Burrow this week.
Yeah, this would be another one where it's like I'm just if you have to start Burrow, I'm tempering expectations, and he's not my favorite start, I guess you could say. Like I said, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are on bye, so depends who's out there or who you got that you might have to throw Burrow into your lineup. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, you definitely might have to throw Burrow into your lineup. And obviously it helps when you have guys like Jamar Chase, who is just balling right now, probably going to be offensive rookie of the year. You got Higgins, who returned T. Higgins, and then you got Tyler Boyd as well. And then even Mixon out of the backfield, who can take a couple catches. And we even saw Chris Evans last week take a little catch. I think it was like 25-yard touchdown. So, he's got weapons to throw the ball to. But, for what it's worth, I just personally believe playing in Baltimore is one of the toughest places to play. It's just, I don't know what it is, but for just years and years and years, Baltimore's just been one of these like tough-nosed, like nitty-gritty, hard places to play. And Harbaugh's a good coach, good defensive coach there. Like I said, it is a division game, and they shut down Justin Herbert last week. And you got Keenan Allen, you got Mike Williams, who's having this breakout year. They blanketed all those guys and shut Justin Herbert out. I mean, they held Herbert to under 200 passing yards. It was his worst game of the season. But yeah, it's just, I'm not in love with this. I just don't see too much upside. I mean, Burrow has had 2 or more touchdowns in every single game, so he could give you a safe floor potentially. But I just don't see like a ceiling here. I'm not expecting him to, have like a boom game. So if you're looking for some upside, I'd potentially be fading Joe Burrow here. And it's just crazy because like one of the games we said to sit him before was against the Chicago Bears, and that was like his worst game of the season. So
yeah,
maybe just on the road, a little bit different compared to playing home game, because the home road splits are a real thing.
Yeah,
whether people can understand or acknowledge that.
And sometimes it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I like it. Joe Burrow. What a bust.
Burrow's been playing good, though.
No,
for the most part, he
good.
looks good off the knee surgery. And
he looks good like his college years.
Yeah, and the connection with Jamar Chase is just
he's not a bust. He's not a bust. I just want
what they need to do, though, is draft some linemen for that guy.
Yeah.
You got to protect him, because it's like now you have weapons, but yeah, you got to be able to protect your investment.
Yeah, let's be real.
Let's get that guy some linemen.
Let's get him some big guys for the line.
Yeah.
Do some blocking. Okay, let's go on to our running back starts for week 7. We have, first off, our boy Damien Harris. A lot going on with the Patriots running backs, but Damien Harris seems to be one of Bill Belichick's favorites. Stardom against the Poopy Jets. Game script. Gonna go up ahead early. Possibly just run the clock out. Actually, no. I like Damien Harris this week, because especially with all these bye weeks, I'm fucking lighting it up. Damien Harris, I got him starting in a ton of leagues, so I'm with it.
Yeah, I love Damien Harris. I mean, a guy who was, I know at least last year, he was graded as like one of the highest running backs on Pro Football Focus. And, he's coming off a 19-touch game. He had 18 carries, 1 reception, 108 total yards. He gets you a touchdown. So money game from last week if you started him. Could have had a monster game against the Texans 2 weeks ago. He has the 1 touchdown, but then he fumbled at like the half-inch yard line. So he potentially could have had 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago against the Texans. So he could be riding a little hot streak for his 3rd game coming in here. But, yeah, I do like it. I mean, even with the fumbles, Bill Belichick still seems to give him the football. James White obviously is on IR. He's out for the year. So, we've been seeing a little bit more of Brandon Bolden get incorporated. Even Ramondre Stevenson got a little bit of love last week as well. But when they get in close, it's Damien Harris. They don't mess around. And I'm expecting this. I like the under in this game. I think it was like 42 points. It's a division game. The Jets are on a bye. They're coming off a bye. Yeah, they're coming off a bye. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, so he's had 2 weeks to really prepare for I guess you could say like a par or even a subpar offense at best for the Patriots. So I'm expecting a lot of running in this matchup here. I'm not expecting a ton of points, but I do believe that's I almost said Sonny Michel. Damien Harris will be a guy who, he's going to see probably 18 touches, and like I said, a guy who's one of the best running backs on Pro Football Focus. Yeah, give me that all day, especially when there's so many running backs on a bye. Like, to have a guy like Damien Harris as my RB2. I mean, maybe he has to be your RB1 because you're out a couple guys, but if he's my RB2 this week, I like it. Good flex option too if you need a flex option.
Yeah, by the way, so we don't have any sits for the running back position. It's just the only reason we did that is because really, I mean, this week it's fucking hard because you got so many bye weeks. It's like who you gonna sit realistically? And there's some that we don't really like so much, but I mean, realistically, you're probably in positions where you have to start the backup running backs or separate, different running backs or your bench running backs, I should say. So let's go on to the next one here. We got your boy Elijah Mitchell. That should have been the comment of the week. One of the guys told us that we had the wrong picture for Elijah Mitchell, but that happens, and appreciate it. So we got the right picture in for the template here. Week 7 start Elijah Mitchell. You got him on a Sunday night game against the Colts. I'm not mad at it.
I mean, yeah, I love Elijah Mitchell. He was probably my top waiver pickup personally this last week if he was out there. And he was out there in I think like 40 to 60% of leagues. Like people were dropping him over the bye, and I think he kind of slipped under the radar because last week they were on a bye. So if you went to the running back position, he wasn't there because he was projected 0 points because he was on a bye. That's why we always say you got to filter that through the roster percentage to see who the highest rostered players are, and it'll be crazy. You'll see some players pop up out of nowhere, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, I didn't even realize this guy was on the waiver wire." But yeah,
say less.
Yeah, say less. Give me some Elijah Mitchell this week. I love it. Last week or the week prior to their bye, he outsnapped Trey Sermon 44-2. Now, I know Kyle Juszczyk is being utilized a lot. Maybe he's just a savvy veteran, a better blocker in terms. But, we're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo starting this game, not Trey Lance, which also boosts some confidence in myself to start Elijah Mitchell because, Trey Lance was running the ball a ton. So when the quarterback's running the ball a ton, it hurts that running back's value because now, you get in close. Maybe the running back steals a goal line carry or, even if the quarterback – Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson, these guys, they get you 50, 60 yards on the ground. Those are 50, 60 rushing yards that the running back could potentially get. And, Elijah Mitchell, when he was in there, first couple games, 19 touches, and 11 touches. So I like this. You're not shying away from the Colts run defense either. They're middle of the pack. They're allowing 4.1 yards per carry. And like I said, they had an extra week to prepare. So, yeah, dial up Elijah Mitchell right here. Obviously, you're taking a gamble because you never know what Shanahan and these 49ers running backs, do they come out and
that's annoying.
Does Trey Sermon all of a sudden get all the work? Possibly. Does JaMychal Hasty's activated? Does JaMychal Hasty come out and get a ton of run? Possibly. But I'm just going to go off the fact that, the first 2 weeks of the season, 19 touches for Elijah Mitchell. I'm expecting that same type of workload this week. So, yeah, love me some Elijah Mitchell.
Very nice. Very nice match. I like it as well. Let's go on to, this is my guy. I almost had to put this in the sleeper starts. I got some Pittsburgh Steelers footage here for James Conner because, your boy's a Steelers fan. So, James Conner, obviously you have Chase Edmonds there, but Chase Edmonds really was not. By the way, the Cardinals are playing the Texans. Let's just get that out of the way. But Chase Edmonds, really, I think he ended up with like 4 rushes last week. So that doesn't sound good to me if I'm a Chase Edmonds owner. Yeah, so last week 4 rushes for 46 yards and then 4 receptions for 4 yards last week, Chase Edmonds. So James Conner ran 16 times last week. And last week we said to start Michael Pittman as a sleeper start, and when they play the Texans. And now I figured it out. You cannot run or you cannot throw the ball against the Texans. That's not how you beat them. You beat them on the ground. Every team just runs the ball against them. This is the pass attempts against the Texans after week 1. Week 1, nobody knew what was going on with the Texans. So Trevor Lawrence, he's a rookie, threw the ball 51 times. But since then, the teams that played against the Texans, pass attempts are 21, 34, 30, 30, and then 20, which is like in today's NFL, those are some rookie numbers, baby. So yeah, I mean, that's what we figured out. This is what teams do. I'm expecting the Cardinals to just run the ball down the Texans' throat. I think that Kyler Murray could possibly snake James Conner in some situations, but I think when they're in the red zone, I think James Conner's going to get opportunity, and I could definitely see a situation where James Conner could end up with 2 touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, he's done it twice already this year,
yeah,
so it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. He's had 3 games with 16 or more carries. And, Houston, not very good against the run, allowing 4.7 yards per carry. They're allowing 11 rushing touchdowns so far this season, which is, up there. That's amongst the most in the NFL. And when you're thinking about them being up, controlling the clock, you can see a lot of James Conner towards the tail end of the game as well. And then, Chase Edmonds, he's been banged up for the most part. So he's activated. He's probably going to play, but in a game where, the Cardinals are 6-0, right? And they're playing against the Texans, who are not very good. What are they, 1-5? Why would I throw my guy Chase Edmonds out there who's been banged up and maybe he's good enough to play, but I'm not going to throw him out there in a game where I don't need him. Let me just give James Conner the workload in this game because let's just get in here, get this dub, pack it up, and go home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he gets a ton of work. Like this started a lot.
Yeah, me too. So it's horny.
It's crazy. Just side note, one of the comments I saw was
this guy's trying to trade James Conner, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because of the bye weeks and whatnot, but some guy was saying, should I trade James Conner for Kareem Hunt and Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
It's like yes.
And I know that sounds crazy when you think about it. Obviously, those guys are hurt. Kareem Hunt's on IR and Clyde Edwards is on IR. I think Clyde Edwards' injury is probably more severe than Kareem Hunt, but, I mean, you're probably going to be without those guys for a couple weeks. But, yeah, dude, if you can afford it, yeah, I'm definitely trading James Conner for both those guys because when they come back, those guys, our value is going to be way higher combined compared to just James Conner,
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you just get Kareem Hunt to come back and be what he was doing, I'd give me Kareem Hunt over James Conner all day. But, yeah, that was just a side note that we saw another comment that
for sure
somebody left.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the Week 7 starts for the wide receiver position. We'll start with I just talked about him right now, but we got Michael Pittman Jr., the second-year receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. You got Paris Campbell, just season-ending injury or season-ending surgery recent. I think like 2 days ago. T.Y. Hilton's back, but I think Michael Pittman is still the 1A there on the Colts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even T.Y. Hilton's a little banged up. They're saying that he's kind of questionable to play. So, I mean, if T.Y. Hilton's out, then, I mean, that only boosts the value of Michael Pittman. I do like T.Y. Hilton, too, if he plays in this game. But, I mean, yeah, after a slow week 1, Michael Pittman Jr., who I know me and you, Mike, we're pretty big fans of him, especially last year coming out of USC, second year. But after the week 1, he had a slow start. But after that, he had 12 targets, 8 targets, and 7 targets. He only gets you 3 targets the last week. A little disappointing, but I mean they were blowing out the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like people don't throw against the Texans. We realize that.
Yeah, so they were blowing them out. So they didn't need to utilize him. So this game against the 49ers, I think, will be a lot more competitive, and they're gonna need to utilize Michael Pittman. Like you said, Campbell's out, T.Y. Hilton's banged up, and just to think of how highly the Colts organization thinks of Michael Pittman Jr. is. They drafted Michael Pittman Jr. above Jonathan Taylor, so in the second round 2 years ago. So when they got on the clock, second round, it was either Jonathan Taylor or Michael Pittman Jr. They didn't want to lose the opportunity to draft Michael Pittman Jr. They were like, we can take the shot of losing on Jonathan Taylor, but we don't want to lose the opportunity to get Michael Pittman Jr. on our team. So they drafted him over Jonathan Taylor. So that should just show you how much they, as a franchise and in organization, how much they value him as a player for their offense. So, I love Michael Pittman Jr. in this one right here. If you can get him on the low, I know it's a little late. Maybe the trade won't go through, but give me all the Michael Pittman Jr. Some player comps of him is like, he reminds me of like a Mike Evans. He reminds me of like a Vincent Jackson. If you've been playing fantasy for a while, you'll remember Vincent Jackson, throwback Charger and Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But, just a big guy, and, his dad's been in the league, so his dad's mentoring him on how to be a pro, you would think. So, I just love Michael Pittman Jr., and I think he's only going to get better. I think he's barely scratching the surface of what he can be in this league.
Yeah. I like it. Michael Pittman Jr.
Fuck it. Send it in.
Let's go on to Week 7 starts. We got Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard is possibly going to be out. We had this in here. We were debating whether or not to put it in, take it out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Shepard came back last week, had a good game. He did get banged up in practice, because he had the hamstring injury. So they said he kind of tweaked it or re-aggravated it this practice. So he's questionable. But, I mean, these targets that he's been getting, 9 targets, 10 targets. And then he gets hurt in week 3, misses a couple games with the hamstring. Then last week, 14 targets. It's just like there's no Kadarius Toney. There's no Kenny Golladay. Evan Ingram's banged up. And I don't know what it is, but Evan Ingram just is not a thing. I don't know, good football player, but I don't know. He's just not a good fantasy football player for whatever reason. But if Sterling Shepard is good to go, this is just something you have to monitor. Like, make sure you're paying attention to it. If he's good to go or not. Is he going to be limited? Who knows? We'll try to keep you guys updated on that on the Instagram and stuff like that. So just, follow us on there for updates. But if Sterling Shepard plays, I'm getting him into my lineup because these targets are just ridiculous. And like I said, the lack of pass catchers there. No Saquon Barkley. He's out again. Give me all the Sterling Shepard if he plays. But you have to monitor that and make sure if he plays or not.
Which is a hard one because it's Sunday night too. Yeah. So, I like it too. I mean, all those guys out. Sucks Kadarius Toney's out.
Yeah.
But
if you have, this is kind of foreshadowing into one of our sleepers, but if you have Sterling Shepard and, you're debating on starting him or not, see if Darius Slayton's out there. Because if you're going to wait, is this a Sunday night game? I didn't.
Yeah, it is a Sunday night game, yeah.
So, if you're holding on to Sterling Shepard, it's a Sunday night game. See if Darius Slayton's out there because if Sterling Shepard's out, foreshadowing, maybe Darius Slayton's a sleeper.
Darius Slayton. Sunday night. Okay, let's go on to Week 7 start. We got Hunter Renfrow. This guy is a PPR guy for the Las Vegas Raiders. This wide receiver is nice. Is it Derek Carr's nephew or something?
I don't know. But, I love Hunter Renfrow, especially in PPR leagues. I mean, he's had, double-digit PPR points in every single game except for last week, so that's 5 out of the 6 weeks. Last week he has a bad game against the Denver Broncos. But the Denver Broncos have a good secondary. they've got some good corners. They've got some good safeties. So, but I mean, prior to that, in the first 5 games, he had 5 or 6 catches every single game. I think he gets back on track, especially the Eagles. Darius Slayton has been playing really good for them on the outside, so he should limit whoever he's going against, whether it's Brian Edwards, Henry Ruggs. It'll probably be Brian Edwards most likely. So he's probably going to limit those guys. And, obviously Darren Waller's going to get his. But I would say that Hunter Renfrow would most likely, in my opinion, in this game, be the second option in the passing game behind Darren Waller. So, yeah, I think, I'm just going to go with the trend of, double-digit PPR points in the first 5 weeks. Like I said, last week, a down game, but I think he bounces back this week and gets you another 10-plus PPR points. So, a guy who doesn't have the craziest ceiling, he's not going to get you a 20 burger. But, if you're just like, hey, I just need a guy who's going to give me 10 points this week, 10, 12 points, who's not going to bust for me, Hunter Renfrow is that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like safe floor guy.
Yeah.
You got to have some of those every once in a while.
I like having those guys sometimes where you're just like, okay, dude, you have your guys, you have your studs. You have your studs who are going to come out there and, put up points.
Yeah, you have your Michael Marquinhos.
Yeah, you have your Michael Marquinhos. Look at that jawline. And then you have those guys where you're just like, hey, dude, just give me 10-plus points. Like, that's all I need to do is just give me 10-plus points. Just don't give me a dud. And that's, like, your role in this offense or your role in my fantasy team, I guess. And that's what Hunter Renfrow is. So
your fantasy offense.
Yeah, your fantasy offense. So.
Okay, let's go on to our sit for the wide receiver positions. First off, we got Corey Davis. Is this, you put this in here, is this because Bill Belichick is just going to absolutely destroy Zach Wilson?
I mean, just one thing that Bill Belichick's been really good at throughout his career is he really just focuses on the best weapon of the opposing offense. And, I mean, arguably you could say it's Corey Davis. I'm not worried about these running backs. Elijah Mitchell's a talented rookie. Jameson Crowder, savvy veteran. But, Corey Davis is the big free agent acquisition that they threw the bag at. They paid that guy a lot of money to come there. So, and the first time they played against the Patriots, I think it was back in week 2 in New York, he had 5 targets for just 2 catches, only 8 yards. So Bill Belichick and that defense did their job of limiting him. I'm not expecting, the Jets are coming off a bye, so extra time to prepare. But, I'm still gonna go with the mad scientist with the hoodie over there, Bill Belichick, to shut down Corey Davis over there. And Zach Wilson just had a terrible game. He was 19 for 33, only 210 passing yards, 0 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions. So, Corey Davis, talented wide receiver. He was the number 1 wide receiver off the board a couple years ago when he was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. So does he have the opportunity to come out and have a good game? Definitely. I mean, could he come out and catch, even if he gets you like 3 for 38 and a touchdown, you'd be happy with that. That'd be a solid game, especially with all the buys this week. I have to start Corey Davis in a league because I have Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb both out, and it's just like I'm just strapped.
Yeah, I'm in one.
I'm just strapped for any. I just need bodies at this point, and so I'm starting him. But I'm not expecting much. I don't think the upside's there. So yeah, I just don't like this opportunity, especially with the Patriots at home. If I'm the Patriots, I'm just doubling Corey Davis the whole time. It's like, hey, Zach Wilson, beat me with these other guys, and and let's see if you can do it. And I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, me neither.
What I'm saying.
I like it.
Very good. Corey Davis, sit him week 7. Now we're going on to the next one. We got Tyler Boyd, the Cincinnati Bengals, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about don't start Joe Burrow in this one. Let's keep it going, and we'll say don't start Tyler Boyd.
I mean, yeah, it's just tough. If I at least don't like Burrow, I don't know how you feel about Burrow.
Yeah, I'm with you against the Ravens. I mean, I do think it's going to be a closer game than I think 8.5 points.
8.5, yeah. Give me
it opened at
6.5.
It went up for so everybody's on the Ravens, betting the Ravens. So it's like it goes to 8.5. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than that. But like I can't imagine Joe Burrow being able to spread the ball far enough to all of these receivers and get everything done. So.
I mean, yeah, he would just have to light it up to support 3 guys out there. Obviously you're starting Jamar Chase because he's just been in fuego. He's been hot like Hansel, as we say. And, Higgins, I think this is a great buy low opportunity on T. Higgins because I think going forward, you're only going to see better games from T. Higgins. So, and even if he has a bad game this week, T. Higgins, definitely a great buy low opportunity. But, there's been 4 games where all 3 wide receivers have played, and Tyler Boyd has been third in targets in
every time,
3 of the 4 games.
Yeah, because
so
we've
75% of the time he's the third option in the passing game here for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Because I was going to say, we've said to start Tyler Boyd in the past, but it was just because you had injuries at the other positions. So, these last man standing kind of thing.
Yeah. We said start Tyler Boyd a couple weeks ago. Higgins was out.
Yeah.
And he came out and he had like that crazy game. I think he had like 9 catches. I can't remember. 9 catches, 80 yards or whatever, touchdown. So,
who was that? Was that mine?
It might have been yours, dude. Yeah, you're just trying to take all the credit, dude.
I was like, oh, say less.
Let's go on. Okay, let's move on to the tight end position. I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. Dolphinitely. Let's go into our tight end starts. Stardom, our boy Dallas Goedert. No more Zach Ertz. The Philadelphia Eagles are taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. It's in Las Vegas. The Raiders are favored by 2.5 points, which is pretty close. Pretty close spread here. The Raiders are giving up a decent amount to the tight end position, 5th most yards to the tight end position, 4 touchdowns on the year, an average of 10.8 fantasy points to the tight end position. Dallas Goedert's there. I don't think Jalen Rager. I don't even know what's the status on Jalen Rager, but I mean he's
not very good.
Yeah, and then I think Jalen Hurts. He's just kind of. It seems as though he's kind of more of an underneath guy at times. I like Dallas Goedert.
Me too, for sure. Especially what boosts his value is there's no more Zach Ertz there that he's competing with for targets. The Eagles, they traded Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals, so it is the Dallas Goedert show there for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, and outside of, Devonta Smith, I guess he got Quez Watkins, who had a pretty decent game last week. But, I'm just not impressed by Rager. I wasn't impressed, with his tape coming out of college. I think it was one of the worst picks. I mean, obviously, maybe he could turn it around. Who knows? He's still young, and maybe he can turn it around. But, it took 8 years for Cordero Patterson to finally show you what the Cordero Patterson experience is about. So there's always an opportunity for Jalen Rager to turn it around. But I just don't like it. And, obviously, when you get close into the red zone, Goddard's a big receiving weapon there for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. He's basically like a Gesicki. When you look at Goedert, he's like a Gesicki, but he can block better. Because he's basically an oversized wide receiver, but he can block. Like Gesicki doesn't block. Gesicki, we were looking at the snap counts for Gesicki. What does he line up?
He lined up like twice in the at blocking.
Gesicki's an oversized wide receiver. That's all he is. Goedert is the same thing. He's a Gesicki, but he can block.
So he's more useful for sure.
So give me all the Dallas Goedert. A great buy low target if you can get him somehow. And if you have Dallas Goedert, I think now the news that Ertz is gone in Arizona, it's hard to imagine that he's not a top 8 tight end the rest of the season. He might be top 6 tight end the rest of the season. Obviously you got Kelsey, you got Waller.
No, it boosts
Mark
it.
Andrews.
It boosts it for sure.
Hawkinson. He could top 5. He might be top 5 tight end.
It just keeps moving up. I think he's gonna finish number 1.
Dude, he might be the QB1 the rest of the season, dude. I don't even know, dude. It's just the sky's the kind of the limit right now with him because we haven't seen what he's been able to do without Zach Ertz. Eating away at those extra targets that he was getting, and Jalen Hurts has been targeting the tight end a ton this season, Ertz and Goedert combined. So now if he's going to get all of those targets or even if he gets like 80% or 90% of those targets, so the ceiling for Dallas Goedert is through the roof.
Yeah. And then what's it called? Yeah, I love it. You got to start him.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next start for the tight end position. We got Ricky Seals-Jones. Ricky Seals-Jones, we We were really excited about Logan Thomas this year. Obviously, Logan Thomas gets hurt. He's out of here. But Ricky Seals-Jones comes from the Cardinals, and he just lines straight up and goes he kind of like falls right into that Logan Thomas role. He's not getting like the craziest amount of targets, as far as like tight ends go. But I mean, that's not bad. It's 9 and 6 targets for tight end position. That's okay. Yeah. 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown last week. So I just think that this guy has the ability to score as that's the biggest thing for tight ends. And against the Packers doesn't scare me. Their defense too bad. They're kind of middle tier when it comes to defending the tight end position. Not giving it up like Blair, but they're not giving it up. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely, I'm starting Ricky Seals-Jones in a bunch of leagues. So if you want to join me in starting Ricky Seals-Jones, I think it's a definite safe floor.
I mean, yeah, the guy's out there a ton. I mean, the last couple weeks, 93%, 99%, 100%. So it's like it's Ricky Seals-Jones and
snap percentage, 93, 99, 100,
yeah. So snap percentage wise, the guy's out there a ton. The Packers at home against the Washington football team should be able to put up a good amount of points. Washington football team's defense, for whatever reason, has just been non-existent. I think me and you could play better defense than they have this year.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I'm expecting Rodgers in that offense to just put up a ton of points, which in return would mean that Heineke and this offense is going to have to throw the ball a ton. Yeah, like I said, 9 targets, 6 targets. Does he, he probably sees you 6, 7, 8 targets this game. Which, for a tight end is money, especially like a back end tight end.
Yeah.
Because he's not one of these top tier tight ends like
I don't know what his availability is as of right now, but I mean, he's a guy that you could possibly pick. I want to say you could possibly go pick up right now.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the other side of the ball for our Week 7 sits for the tight end. Whoops. And here we go. Week 7 sits. We got Robert Tonyan for the Green Bay Packers. This was a guy, for some reason, I didn't understand the hype coming out of last year, because it's literally like all his targets he scored touchdowns on. The amount of touchdowns he scored based on targets, like it was kind of absurd. He was like scoring almost every time he caught the ball. So, as far as volume goes, it wasn't there so much for Robert Tonyan. Why are you not starting him this week?
I just don't think I don't want to say he's not very good, but I just don't think he's a very good fantasy tight end. I like to think that we know what we're talking about when we do this. We obviously put in a ton of hours. We put in a ton of research. We're going over things, Higbee had that breakout stretch a couple years, like 2 years ago, towards the tail end of the season. Everyone was on the Higbee train, and we're saying, don't draft Higbee. He's not going to be that guy. And he wasn't that guy. Same thing last year. Tonyan, breakout season, all these touchdowns. We're telling you in the draft season, don't draft Tonyan. And he's not going to be that guy. And he's not that guy. I mean, the guy's had one game over 10 points where he had a touchdown. Outside of that, look at these targets. 4, 3, 1, 7, 2, 3. It's just, it's just non-existent. I mean, his receiving yards are just not good. He's had one receiving yard game over 10 yards. He's got 52 yards in one game where he had the good game and the touchdown, and then another game where he's got 10.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the other ones are 8, 8, 6, and 8. So he's not getting you catches. He's not getting you yards. If he doesn't find the end zone, which what he was doing last year a ton, and that's the only reason why he was fantasy relevant, he has no relevance. So I'm just all out on the Robert Tonyan. I don't know if people are still holding on to what he was doing last year, but dude, it's 2021, dude.
2021, dude.
Get over it, bro.
Move on.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Well, we will move on. We will move on to the defensive stream for this week. Week 7 stardom. The New England Patriots take on the New York Jets. Listen, it's in New England. It's in Boston. You're telling me you're not going to take Boston, New England against New York? It's the Jets, guys. Guys, it's the Jets. Patriots defense. look up Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks. It's pretty disgusting. I love the Patriots defense against the Jets this week. Light it up. The over-under moved from 43. It moved down. The under's going to go. They're going to stop them from scoring. The only way that the over will hit is if the Patriots score all the points. Sign me up.
Yeah, I like the under for sure. It's crazy because week 2 we said start the Patriots against the Jets. They give you 16 points and obviously defensive scoring settings are different in everyone's leagues. So this could depend, but in your basic ESPN standard scoring league, they got you 16 points week 2 in New York against the Jets. We said to start them then. That's their best game they've had all year. They actually have been pretty bad in terms of like defensive scoring or fantasy point scoring for the rest of the time. But like you said, they're at home this week against the Jets. I'm just expecting a lot of the same from Bill Belichick and this defense, especially now you said they're at home in Boston. Just, give me all of it. It's crazy because their roster percentage jumped up 25% this last week. So they were at
that's nuts.
They're at about like 60% before the week, at least on ESPN, and now they're at 86%. That should probably just keep going up. So
it should be.
This is one of the best streaming defenses that you could get.
The only one I like maybe more might be the Cardinals defense, but even then, I almost like this better.
Yeah. Dial it up, dude.
Yep.
I picked them up in a couple leagues. So.
Yeah, I got them starting as well. Okay, let's go into our sneaky. Let me play this for you.
What a sleeper.
So we got our sleepers for week 7. We're going to start off with the running back position. We got Devonta Freeman, the Baltimore Ravens running back. Light it up. Le'Veon Bell actually had more snaps than Devonta Freeman last week. So why are you a big Devonta Freeman fan? Man, he's been everywhere, huh? He's got a Giants logo, he's got a Giants jersey on in this picture, the Ravens background, and then I'm playing Falcons highlights. Very good.
I mean, yeah, because it's been a while since he's been fantasy relevant. I
Yeah.
mean, just think about this though, like in how it's just crazy how, at least for the running back position, how quick it is to fall from grace. I mean, a couple years ago, David Johnson was the number 1 overall pick, and now he's on the waiver wire in 80% of leagues. I feel like you had Todd Gurley, who's
Not
dominant for 2 years or whatever, 3 years, not even on an NFL roster right now. A couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Devonta Freeman was the highest paid running back in the NFL. And now he's just kind of, like you said, jumping
Le'Veon Bell
from team to team. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell. I think Le'Veon Bell's like one of those guys that he just didn't care. He just wanted to get paid. And once he secured the bag of whatever, $30 million, he was just kind of like, whatever, like, I got paid.
The funny part is he lost money, but whatever.
Yeah. That's what greed. Like I said, greed is one of these sins or whatever.
Seven deadly sins.
7 deadly sins, yeah. But yeah, I like Devonta Freeman right here. Go pick him up. He should be available on a good chunk of waiver wires. I picked him up in a couple leagues. Once the news broke that Latavius Murray will be out with an ankle injury, and they said that Devonta Freeman will be getting the start for the Baltimore Ravens in this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell will probably get some run. Tyson Williams will probably get some run. You still have the threat of Lamar Jackson getting some rushes as well. But I do like Devonta Freeman. I feel like they're confident in him to be the guy there, or at least for this week going forward. The last 2 weeks, for what it's worth, 11 targets between him and Latavius Murray. Like I said, Latavius Murray out. Le'Veon Bell, 0 targets during that 2-game span. So not getting any targets, Le'Veon Bell. I'm thinking Le'Veon Bell gets a little more incorporated. Maybe Tyson Williams does as well. But they obviously feel comfortable throwing the ball to Devonta Freeman. And for what it's worth, the Bengals have allowed the most targets and the most receptions to running backs, and they've allowed the 7th most receiving yards to running backs. So if Devonta Freeman is going to be the guy, he's already getting targets. He's obviously a savvy veteran. They trust him in pass protection, which is one thing they don't trust Tyson Williams with. Yeah, I'll take a shot on Devonta Freeman. You could do worse. You could, I don't know. We didn't have a lot of sits in this one, or we didn't have any sits actually for the running backs because it's just tough. But Devonta Freeman or Gaskin at this point, Like, dude,
Give me Freeman.
give me Freeman. And that sucks as a Dolphins fan because I just don't know what Flores and the Miami Dolphins are doing down there in terms of not utilizing Gaskin in his pass-catching ability. So, yeah, I do like Freeman. I think he's a sneaky start. If you're just looking for a guy, hey, I just need a running back. I need a flex option because there's so many buys. I love Devonta Freeman this week. I'll take a gamble on it.
Yeah, and this week you need something like that. Yeah, I'm with it 100%. Let's go on to the wide receiver sleeper we got here. We have our boy Robby Anderson. This is interesting because you're over here saying don't start Sam Darnold, but you're saying to sleeper start Robby Anderson.
Yeah, I was saying don't start Sam Darnold because he's trending in the wrong direction. Like, I need to see a bounce back game from Sam Darnold before I feel comfortable throwing him into my lineup. And maybe he does this week. Like I said, the Giants give up a 74% completion percentage. It's just that Sam Darnold has been highly inaccurate. 45% of Robby Anderson's targets have been uncatchable. So, I mean, that's, obviously they like Robby Anderson. He played for Matt Rule back in Temple, played with Sam Darnold for the Jets. So the stars and the planets are aligning for him to be successful. Former college coach, former quarterback from the Jets for several years together. So they have the rapport. He knows the offense. They paid him a contract extension in the offseason, so they obviously want to utilize him and they like what they see out of Robby Anderson. It just hasn't been translating onto the field. I mean, he's had 29 targets in the last 3 weeks, 11, 7, and 11.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot of targets. That's tied 8th most in the NFL. I think he had some crazy thing where he had as many receiving yards as he did targets.
That's 11. No, it is. He had 11. He had 3 receptions for 11 yards on 11 targets last week against Minnesota.
So that's just insane to think, hey, this guy got 11 targets and he got 11. He averaged 1 yard per target. That is just insane. not that's just ridiculous when you get to that type of thing,
Yeah.
But Robby Anderson, one of those guys. Flub. Yeah. One of those guys where all it takes is one big play and he can make the day for you. The Giants' pass defense not very good. They're actually the 29th ranked pass defense per Pro Football Focus. You have the rookie Terrace Marshall out with a concussion. CMC's out as well. So in terms of like passing the football, yeah, dude, it's DJ Moore and it's Robby Anderson. And I'm not worried about Ian Thomas. I'm not worried about Chuba Hubbard stealing a ton of passes. I'm not worried about – I don't even know who the 3rd, 4th receiver is for the Panthers. So, I mean, if Sam Darnold throws the ball 30 times, does Robby Anderson see 10 targets? I think so because, it's probably 10 targets for Robby Anderson, 10 targets for DJ Moore.
Yeah.
So, I'll take a gamble on the – maybe he gets it together. Maybe Sam Darnold finally gets to get together on this game and he throws some catchable passes, actually, to Robby Anderson. And if I can get 7 to 8 out of the 10 targets, actual catchable passes, I think Robby Anderson is a talented enough wide receiver. They paid him enough, at least, to be this guy who's coming down with these catches. So, yeah, I like him as a sleeper this week with all the buys. You got a lot of players on buy. You got Jefferson, Thielen, Diggs, Manny Sanders, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Those are just some names off the top of my head. Those guys are all on buy, and it's just, yeah, if you need somebody, go get them.
Definitely. Okay, well, let's move on to our next sleeper. This, we talked a little bit of Sterling Shepard, but we got Darius Slayton for the New York Giants. If Sterling Shepard does not play, it's a game-time decision. You could go swoop up Darius Slayton for nothing, and you could throw him in there, and there's no Tony if there's no Shepard. What do you got left? Evan Ingram, Darius Slayton, Devonta Freeman. No, not Devonta Freeman. Jesus Christ. Devontae Booker.
Yeah.
Last year. But yeah, Darius Slayton. I think this is a sneaky start. I think Daniel Jones has been better. Not so much the past couple of weeks, but before that, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, like I said, Tony's out, Galladay's out, Evan Ingram's banged up. Even when he's healthy, he's been non-existent. And then Sterling Shepard, we like him if he plays. But the reports I saw today were that he, in practice, re-aggravated the hamstring injury. And
The Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard, yeah.
Yeah.
Did I say Sterling?
No, you didn't say anybody. I was just, yeah.
So, yeah, Shepard re-aggravated the hamstring injury, and the report I read was that it was, like, serious, and, like, he has a good chance of missing the game. So, if he does miss the game, I'm 1,000% throwing Darius Slayton into my lineup because it's kind of like de facto who's left.
De facto numero uno.
Yeah, who's left to throw the ball to, my guy?
Hey,
And,
who the fuck you going to throw it to?
You know, we even had Dante Pettis get resurrected and get 11 targets last week just because that's how bad the New York Giants are hurting for pass catchers. And, you know.
Someone wake up Michael Crabtree.
Yeah. Like Crabtree. Good throwback guy.
Me too.
But, you know, for what it's worth, you know, this is Danny Dimes' boy, I feel like. You know, the first couple years when they were in the league together, you know, they came in the same year, I believe, and, you know, 7 targets and 6 targets through the first 2 games. In PPR, he gave you 9.5 and 14.4 PPR points the first 2 weeks. Those are some safe floors right there. And if he's the last guy standing, then, yeah, give me all the Darius Slayton. I've picked him up in 3 leagues because I am, you know, like I said, there's so many buys. And I feel like I had CeeDee Lamb in basically every single league. And I have, you know, Diggs in a ton of leagues, Manny Sanders in a ton of leagues. So I'm like out 2 receivers in a bunch of leagues right now. So, yeah, I've been grabbing Slayton and throwing him in. Even if Shepard plays, he's obviously not 100%. You know, and does Sterling Shepard start the game? And maybe he leaves in the first quarter. Maybe he leaves at halftime because he re-aggravates it, or, you know. So I think they do lean on Darius Slayton, and I'm going to bank on that he's the main focal point in this passing attack this week. That's kind of my thought process through this.
Yeah, I'm with it on Darius Slayton this week if he's out. You know, if 89's not there and all that's left is 86, fucking send it in, baby.
Fuck it, send it in.
89 is Kadarius Toney, for those who don't know. But, okay, let's move on to the last one, of course.
Dude, I think I throw Devontae Parker in here in every episode.
You love Devontae Parker.
I do love Devontae.
I do love Devontae Parker. Miami Dolphins, Devontae Parker, sleeper start for Week 7 up against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not mad at it. What's the status? What's going on here? Why are you excited about what's going on? Tell me.
I mean,
elaborate.
Yeah, I do love Devontae Parker, and I think maybe I'm just because I'm a Dolphins fan and I've seen what this guy's capable of. I mean, we saw that crazy year he had with Fitzmagic a couple years ago where he was just getting hyper targeted, and he finished as a top 10 wide receiver on the season, and it's just like that's what he's capable of if he gets the targets. It's just the knack or the knock, I guess you could say, with Devontae Parker's always been the lack of targets and his ability to stay healthy and stay on the field. And right now it's his ability to stay on the field. You know, the last couple games, hamstring injury, he's been sitting out. He's practiced this week, so it looks like he's trending in the right direction to play. But he's averaged 8 targets through the first 4 games that he's played. So that's a nice, safe floor right there. You know, in terms of PPR points that he's gotten you 12, 9, 8, and 17. The 17, he got you a touchdown. The 12, 9, and 8 in PPR, at least, he didn't get you a touchdown. But if he does, that's 18, 15, and 14. Those are all solid games right there in terms of PPR points-wise. You know, if he's scoring some touchdowns, you know, obviously Waddle has had the big game. But like I said, there was no Fuller. There's no Devontae Parker. You got Gesicki there, you know, too. But Devontae Parker is one of those guys where not the best separator, not the best route runner, but what he does is you just throw him the ball, and I think I've said it before in the past, like, I don't want to compare him to Megatron because he's not in the same league as Megatron. Megatron, Hall of Famer, one of the best receivers ever to do it. But that like style, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, of where you just throw Devontae Parker the football, and he just out jumps, out muscles out finesses, whatever you want to call it, and he comes down with the football. I mean, that year that Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year, I don't want to say the R word because we got a little haze for that, but he dominated, I guess you could say. He dominated the Defensive Player of the Year.
Some would say that he dominated his genitals.
Yeah, and in a must-win game for the Patriots when Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player. So the guy is a super talented wide receiver, and I know I'm rambling on about Devontae Parker here, but yeah, I like him in this matchup. The Dolphins need him if they're going to win this game, and they would be smart to utilize him, but who knows? The Dolphins aren't being very smart at all. They don't utilize Gaskin at all.
Devontae Parker, check it out. 7 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets, 9 targets. And then, so is he going to get 7 targets? Because last time he got 7 targets, he got 81 yards on 7 targets.
I think he gets 8 targets.
8?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the pattern here.
So
then it was
the
4,
average
5,
is
4,
8.
4 receptions.
Yeah.
I was just, when you look at the numbers, sometimes you see the.
And a lot of those,
so weird.
Like I said,
Go look at this.
Couple of those
so
games
weird.
with Brissett, who's not very accurate, and I know there's all these. We'll just touch on this for a second since we're talking about the Dolphins and Devontae Parker, but there's all these rumors of Deshaun Watson going to Miami, and as exciting as that would sound,
I would like Deshaun Watson.
I don't think that's gonna solve the Dolphins' problems. Like, our quarterback is not our biggest issue right now. We need an offensive line. We need a fucking running back. I don't know why we didn't. There's been 10 solid running backs at least that have been drafted in the last 2 years, and we've had a fuck ton of draft picks, and we haven't drafted any running backs out of them because we think Gaskin and Malcolm Brown are the guys. We don't even utilize Malcolm Brown. I digress.
Miles Gaskin.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, Miles Gaskin and Malcolm Brown.
You don't utilize Miles Gaskin.
Yeah, we don't utilize Miles Gaskin.
You said Malcolm Brown.
My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that Tua is the problem here. Tua still hasn't played a full 16-game season. He hasn't had a full arsenal of weapons. I mean, Miami's.
I think the thing is,
pass catchers are not very. When Parker's not there, Fuller's not there. Preston Williams isn't there, who's not even that good. Bro, it's like, dude, we're playing with our 4th, 5th, 6th string wide receivers, practice squad wide receivers. Like, it's just not very good. So I just want to see what Tua can do with Waddle, Fuller, Gesicki, Devontae Parker, and if they utilize Gaskin out of the backfield like they should, what Tua could do. So yeah, it's just very frustrating to see what's going on here with the Dolphins offense.
Yeah, I will say this about Deshaun Watson. It's like, okay, the problem might not be Tua, but the solution I don't think is Tua. Like, I don't think Tua is the quarterback that's just going to, like, go nuts and win games for you. Yeah. But I feel like Deshaun Watson can do that. Do you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
That's sure. Like, Deshaun Watson can, like, carry a team. Like, I mean, he carried the Texans. I don't know how. Like, the Texans made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, with Deshaun Watson. So I don't know.
Dolphinitely.
Throw him on. I think it would be cool. Like, I'm not a Dolphins fan, but I watch a lot of them with you guys, and a lot of Dolphins games, and yeah, I would. I mean, I think it would be cool if you guys got Deshaun Watson, but
yeah,
that's just me. But who knows when he would even be able to play.
I'm just watching these Devontae Parker highlights, and I'm getting mucho
horny. Okay, well, that is it for the episode. Yep, that's it. It's been great. It's been fine. It's been fantastic. Thanks for listening. Go download Underdog Fantasy and play with us. We can do these private drafts, so we can draft against you guys. So it's a lot of fun. So if you download Underdog Fantasy, the link is down in the description below, whether this is audio or you're checking this out on YouTube. Go check out Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code AVG and get a free $10 in your account. Once you make your first deposit, they just hook you up, give you $10, and it supports us too. So we appreciate it. Big time.
Big time.
Anything else you want to leave for the people? You want to tell? I want to say thank you for everyone who's supported the YouTube channel. We've had a ton of growth there, and I've seen even some more people have been checking out the audio podcast. Listening to the full episodes. So I want to say thank you, and I'm very appreciative of everyone leaving comments and, being kind of interactive with us. Like, we try and respond to all those comments, and I don't know. It's really cool to see. We've been doing this for a while, so it's cool to see, like, the growth this year.
Definitely.
That's what I want
Not
to
Dolphin
say.
Light, definitely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. Okay. Thanks for listening. And us
Big boys
are out.
My fingers hurt.
This has been the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. Please leave a rating and review. Thank you.